and that you are comfortable. This will be about a 45-minute or so presentation, of course, but you can happily stay on later if you decide you have any questions you want to ask me during the presentation. So I won't hop off right away, but that's the estimated time. So we're going to get started now. I'm hoping I will be able to let people in as we go, because that's something I have to do at the same time as I present. So we are going to talk today about golf, using golf as a business strategy. And so for those of you who are newer to golf, or maybe even haven't played golf and maybe don't play golf regularly or haven't played a golf outing, this is really for you, because I want people to understand why golf is a great tool for business. So I'm going to first start off by telling you a little bit about myself. For those who don't know, I'm Jamie Taylor. I'm an LPGA professional. I've been playing golf for 35 years, and I have been working in the industry for over 25. And so it's been a journey playing this game, because I can tell you it's opened so many doors for me from childhood into adulthood. And that's why what I say today is coming straight from my personal experience, not just from theory or from things I've heard. But I'm also founder of 10K Golf, a player development app that I created. I am a former collegiate player. I played for Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania on a full ride scholarship. And I've really been focusing really on teaching women and children. I teach everybody, but I've really been focused on teaching women and children for over 15 plus years, because one, like I said, as a youth, I really benefited from golf, from getting my college paid for, getting invited to events, golf tournaments, and different things like that, engaging with a lot of business people at a young age that made me comfortable to do what I do now. And I also saw that women were not being really attended to, because there's not many female golf professional instructors anyway, but a lot of women are seeking women instructors. And so when I do engage with women, I get a lot of information about how they are intimidated by golf for various reasons, and why they get into it. So I'm going to talk from that perspective today. I also have a good golf travel company where I take women on what I'd like to call luxurious golf camps. That's actually what one of my former attendees called it, a luxurious golf camp. And I also have a company that I created called Black Golf Directory, which is now a golf pro like me. That's a rebranded title, but it's a way for people to find diverse golf instructors, be it women, people of color, etc. Because oftentimes when you're going on different platforms, you see mostly men, and those sometimes people don't want a male instructor. So that is a little bit about me. So let's get into it. Why is golf one of the most underused tools in golf? Well, as someone who has managed golf courses before, over 8 years, managed golf courses, and have been to more golf outings than I can probably ever count, there's one thing that has never changed. Every time I attend a golf outing, I can count on one hand typically, unless it's a women specific golf outing. Let me be clear about that. But if it's just a general golf outing, corporate event or charity outing, I can usually count on one hand how many women are participating in the golf outing as a player. Oftentimes I see women, managing the registration table, or if they're one of the corporate sponsor groups, they're managing an information table, or they're out there handing out snacks and drinks and things like that, which is fine. But the reality is, I've always been perplexed, why were there not many women actually playing in those events? And I've said to them, like, why are you on this side of things? And they say, well, I'm not that good, or, I'm not ready. And one thing that they have seen, and I see all the time, and this is not a knock to any men on this call or any men in general, is that a lot of the men out there also don't know what they're doing. And they're not there because they're good at golf. They're there because this is a business networking opportunity, and that's why they came. So I want you all to understand that as we go through this webinar today, that this is the reason why you should play golf, especially if you're someone in the working world. So here's the cost if you don't playing golf right now or not playing golf for business. Most executives are not playing golf as a hobby. They're using it as a deliberate tool to have business with people because golf is a sport that you can spend 4 hours, assuming you're playing 18 holes, over 4 hours with somebody uninterrupted, and you can really have some relationship building opportunity. So you're not being dealing with a lot of distractions of people, coming back and forth. You don't have to worry about a time slot of, oh, we scheduled a 30-minute virtual call, so I have to do what I have to do in that time frame. You have this long, lengthy amount of time, and that's really why people choose to do their business on the golf course. It's probably the most powerful networking environment that exists, and this is something that if you don't already do it because maybe you feel like you're not ready, you can do it. You can do it. After this, you will be able to do it because I'm going to give you all the breakdown as to how to do it. And oftentimes I would say playing golf for me has given me opportunities. I put here promotions, partnerships, and so forth, but I've gotten scholarships, additional scholarships outside of college because I played golf. I have gotten to meet people who eventually gave me jobs because I played golf. So again, this is not me just speaking from a place of theory, but definitely a place of experience. So here's what an actual business round of golf can look like. And this is something that I'm excited to share because this is a breakdown I don't think most people even get to see when they're getting into golf. So when you start playing a round of golf, and assume that this is either with a colleague, a leader in your company, a potential client if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're just playing by yourself and you just decide to go out and play golf today, and you were going to be looped in with a random group of people. The first three holes are typically for small talk. And I want to make that clear because just like if you're on a date, right, you don't know the people that well, you're really just getting to know each other, sharing, your background, where you're from, family, do you have kids? Are you married? Things of that nature. You're just having that small talk. You're asking them the same questions as well. So that's what you do the first three holes. And I emphasize that point because if you are intentionally going out for the purpose of a business to play golf, you do not want to start out the gate hot with business conversation. You got too much time ahead of you, and you don't want to annoy the person essentially with talking about business out the gate. Then you go to your next, 6 holes. And over those 6 holes, usually it takes about 15 minutes a hole, just to give you some perspective. Now you're going to be getting into deeper conversation because at that point you have some connections. So then it's like, oh, like I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally. So if someone mentions Ohio or living up north, because I live in Florida now, I'll say, oh, I'm from a cold place too, or I'm from Ohio too. And the next thing you know, we're connecting dots related to where I'm from. Or if, I travel a lot. So if I've traveled to certain places, we connect dots there, but there's always some connections that happen. And that's when you start to see the person relaxed and get to know you. You're starting to feel more comfortable sharing. And so that's what happens over the next 5 holes. And just know that you're not constantly talking. There's breaks in between because when they're hitting balls or you're hitting balls, you're not talking during that period of time, but definitely that's how the flow goes. And then you go into you make the turn, is what we call it. So you're playing the back nine. And I know for some of you, playing 18 holes sounds overwhelming, so that may not be what you do, but eventually you want to get to playing 18 holes because that's going to give you the maximum benefit of a business round. So the next 5 or so holes on the back nine, now you guys could be ideating about things that maybe make sense for what you all are doing, or you are just getting into the real business conversation. And then finally, on the last 3 to 4 holes, that's when you're saying, okay, let's follow up with this. Let's do some, here's somebody I want to connect you with, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're wrapping everything up at those last few holes. And you don't have to be mechanical about this or robotic, but this is just a way things typically flow. And then after you're done with that round, whether it's a 9-hole round or 18-hole round, typically people go to the clubhouse, which is where they have a restaurant, typically where you can get some drinks or a snack afterwards. And that's when you exchange contact information. And if you don't go to the 19th hole, because maybe you have to go home, you still want to, exchange contact information, follow up, have some, hey, let's meet up again at some other point, but that's when you wrap things up. So that's what an actual business round of golf can look like. And if you have questions, by the way, I should mention this, I'll be happy to address those after I finish this presentation. So please put them in the chat so you don't forget. So now you want to show up with confidence, right? Because you are knowing that this is a business round and you don't want to you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. So how do we do this? First thing, you do need to know the basics. So you do want to know how to hit a ball, right? What clubs you want to use, how to tee up a ball, where you should hit from on each shot. So whether it's the tee box, the fairway, putting green, you want to know how to navigate those things. Because one thing you don't want to do is make the person you're playing with become your golf instructor. That's not what they're there for, especially in a business round conversation. Also, they may not be that good. Don't assume because they may have more experience or have said that they are a golfer, that means that they know what they're doing. They could also be not good. And so don't rely on that person to help you. You can let them know, like, hey, I'm learning the game, I'm not great, but you definitely need to have some idea to what you're doing, which means you have to have some formal instruction beforehand to get those basics. And then, of course, you want to have the etiquette. This is probably more important than playing well, because if you don't know when to keep quiet, meaning you're talking constantly, even when they're hitting their ball, that can irritate somebody. I know for me personally, that is a very irritating thing when people don't know when to stop talking when I'm getting ready to hit my shot. And I don't mean when I'm standing over the ball. Typically, once I take my club out of my bag and I'm heading over to the ball to hit, that's when the conversation needs to go on pause. And then once I hit the ball and I'm heading back to the golf cart or putting my club back in the bag, then we can reconvene the conversation. So just understanding that basic, understanding safety and not hitting in towards them at any point in time, understanding when to hit the ball, because a lot of times newer golfers, they get so caught up in the conversation, they're not even paying attention to where their ball is. So they're holding up pace of play because they're not paying attention to what they're doing. So this is all part of the etiquette piece. That is very, very important. And I would say if that would be that's the point that you need to really get an instructor or get some guidance on the etiquette before you go out with someone on a professional setting. And then finally, obviously know your intention, know why you're there, because you don't want to get so caught up in playing the game and having a good time that you finish this 9 or 18 hole round of golf and you have not actually left with any type of connections or business next steps. So make sure that you have your intention set before you come so that you know that when you leave that you have fulfilled that intention. So being engaged is important, and being intentional is all good things that you need to do when you're showing up with confidence. And I want to reiterate, you don't have to be a good golfer or a great golfer to do this, to play with confidence. You just have to know how to use the environment and how to navigate the environment so that when you're out there, you're actually making sure you and the person you're with is having a good time. So here's some ways that you can build trust and open the doors during a golf business round. So people, when they see you under pressure, they will know whether or not they want to work with you. And golf is that environment. So, and that goes both ways. So this quote here is not my quote, but this is a great quote. How you handle a bad shot is how you handle a bad quarter. People remember what they see under pressure. So I'll give an example of this because this person pops in my head as soon as I read this. I've been playing with a young woman. Well, she's my age. She's about a year older than me since we were in grade school. And we even played through college together against each other. And she and I are friends now. She's a great person. But one of the things that I have seared in my brain about her is from the time we started out. I'm sorry, if you just hopped on, if you don't mind putting your mic on mute, that'd be great. What is seared in my brain about her is that from the time we played as juniors into college, when she played poorly or had, a few bad holes, she would start throwing her clubs or slamming them on the ground, or she would curse. I mean, she cursed like a sailor. And I'm talking about we started playing together since 9 years old. She cursed like a sailor. And unfortunately, even though I know she's a great person, because I remember her doing that, it's something I can never let go. I can never forget that about her. So when you're out there on the course with somebody, you have to really compose yourself because people are looking at that part of how you're playing. They're not just looking at how well you hit the ball. That actually doesn't even matter to most people, how you hit the ball. They're looking at how you operate under pressure. They're looking at how you're reacting to your bad shots, whether you're taking ownership or making excuses. Because that's the other thing. People, a lot of times, if they're not playing well, especially for someone like me who's played for a long time, they like to say things like, well, I had a back problem, I did this, and they come up with a million reasons why they didn't hit the ball well. And the reality is nobody cares. I mean, I hate to say it that frankly, but nobody cares about all the reasons why you're not hitting a good shot that day. As long as you're playing and you're out there and you're having a good time, that's all that matters. But they want to see if you're going to stay composed, if you're going to fall apart. How you're making decisions is important, is a thing on the golf course. So, if you're not hitting your driver that well that day and you insist on hitting your driver, even though you've hit the ball poorly for 4 or 5 holes with the driver and have switching clubs, someone like me can notice that. And I can be like, oh man, this person doesn't seem to understand that they're not hitting the ball well with that club. They should probably switch. How you take accountability, all of that gets revealed when you're on the golf course. And you see those same things in the person you're playing with. And that's something you should be paying attention to as well. Because if you're going to be working with them at some point, you need to, get that sense of their personality. And you can do that through playing golf with them. So let's talk about how golf can open doors versus a formal meeting versus golf. So of course, you can meet people in networking events and bars, happy hours, and of course in the boardroom. But where the golf course is different is, as I mentioned before, golf is giving you 4 hours of uninterrupted one-on-one time with somebody or a few other people that you won't get in any of those other environments. Typically, when you're in those other environments, you're dealing with background noise, right? You're dealing with other people coming around, saying hi to them and communicating with them. You're dealing with a lot of things. And then also in those environments, you have the hierarchy. So for me, for example, I've played with people who are plumbers, and I've played with millionaires, and I've played with celebrities. I play with all types of people in all walks of life, but when we get on that golf course, the titles are not there. In fact, I don't even know who they are usually, at least typically, I don't always have their background yet. So that evens the playing field right out the gate. And then we're sharing the same experience, right? We're playing golf. So that is our common ground. And you don't have that hierarchy that you have in those other settings where they're kind of like, well, I'm the who's who, or I'm the guest speaker of this event. So, my time is limited. On the golf course, you don't have any of that. You're just you and they're just them, and you guys are just hanging out for X amount of holes, talking about things that you could never talk about again at a noisy bar or in a boardroom or any other setting where it's super formal, right? Golf breaks away all that formality and makes it a lot more comfortable for people to talk. And you're going to have basically build this relationship and trust over a few hours that would take months to build if you met them in these other environments, because you're not going to have 4 hours. So you're going to have to take a lot more time of meeting them in other environments than you would at the golf course to really get that trust built. So that's another reason why golf is an ideal setting. So how are we going to get started? First recommendation, if you don't already have this, I have the 10K Golf app that I mentioned I've created. You can download it for free from your app store. Just put in 10K Golf. And the reason why I'm advocating for this is because I built this app with this intention. I know as a person who's worked in the golf industry for 35 years and played golf, or sorry, worked in the industry for over 25 years and played golf for 35 years, that the golf industry has not done a good job of creating ways for people to enter the game. So this is my way of helping you get the things that you can't get from your private or group golf lessons, and also motivate you to actually work on your game so that you can see results that you may or not know how to get. If you're just, again, taking lessons, you may not know how to get to breaking 100 or breaking 90 or breaking 80. So that's what I designed the app for. Step two, you will obviously need to find an instructor. And I say that because 99.9% of the time when I've talked to people, as recently as the other day, I was at my dad's therapist the other day, and I mentioned I was a golf pro and asked her if she played golf. She said her son played golf. I said, do you play golf? She said, no, I'm terrible at it. And 99.9% of the time, people who say they're terrible at golf or suck at golf, I follow up with the question, do you have an instructor or have you ever had lessons? And she said, no. How can you be bad at something that you never learned? That's always my response. And then they kind of go, oh, yeah, you're right. So finding an instructor, I do have on the app a way for you to find a pro. But even if you don't find a pro closest to you, you can also reach out to your local golf courses and find pros that may be easier to access. And finally, you want to make sure you learn the basics. As I mentioned earlier, you do need to know what clubs to use, how to hold them, how to hit a ball and keep it moving, and understand how to navigate the golf course, as well as you need to understand the etiquette, because you don't want to put yourself in embarrassing situations if you don't know golf etiquette. And lastly, you need to be ready to say yes to your invitation. So don't feel like if you don't get to a certain level score wise that you can't say yes. It's not about score. It's more about, have I done some basic foundational things, which is what I just put on this slide, to get myself to the point where I can say yes. And that's the main thing you're going to focus on. So those are the steps to get started. So you don't have to do a whole lot, as I just said, to get started. But you do need to, and you don't have to actually be experienced. And by experience, I mean you don't have to be good. You just have to do some really basic things, which I described in the last slide. You don't have to figure it out all alone, because a lot of times people are out here struggling to find, they're following YouTube videos and they're doing all these things, but it doesn't, again, give you a clear path as to what you need to actually do to get comfortable getting out on the course. And you don't necessarily need to wait to feel ready, because that's never going to happen. If you feel like, oh, once I'm, at a certain point in my life or whatever the case, I'll start golfing. The reality is you just have to prioritize it and make it part of your routine. And let me be clear, I'm talking about the golf course because that's typically what people are expecting to do, is get on the golf course. But you can have business golf at a driving range, at a Top Golf, any of those indoor facilities. They even have a lot of those indoor places that you can go to. You can use that as a lunch break meeting or lunch meeting with somebody. I did that actually 2 weeks ago with a friend who I hadn't seen for over a year. And she doesn't even golf, but I needed to work on my game. We hadn't seen each other. So I said, hey, there was a driving range nearby. I said, you mind meeting me at the driving range and we can hang out? And she knew I was a golfer. So she said, no problem. And for me, it was an opportunity not just to work on my game, but it was an opportunity to, one, get her out of the office and get her some fresh air and outside, to expose her to golf in a way that was not a high pressure situation, because she could have hit balls. She didn't have to hit balls, but it was a way for her to be introduced in an informal way. And if she wanted, and feel comfortable. So that's also another way to have a business golf experience. But you will need a clear pathway, and that's where I come in, because like I said, I know that the industry does not provide that. And even if you go to a golf coach, unless you are, set to say to them, hey, I need to go from A to Z, that may help them help you. But a lot of times these people that come to me, they don't necessarily tell me this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get from A to Z. They're typically like, hey, I just want to hit the ball further, or I just want to, you know, whatever, make more putts, but they want to focus on a technique change, which is what I'm here for as an instructor. But you do need to have a pathway to get to the point where you're comfortable saying yes to going to golf outings or business golf events. So here's the pathway that I'm providing for those who are interested. I created a business golf accelerator. This is a new program, but it's based on things I've already been doing over the last, I don't know, 15 years with different groups. I've worked with SHRM, I've worked with KPMG, I've worked with some college university programs and such. And so here are the series that I will be covering in those, the Business Accelerator. Session 1, we cover golf as a professional environment and how to use that, the reading the room and leading with presence, building relationships that move business forward, decision making and emotional control under pressure, because as you know, in golf, you have to make a lot of decisions and you got to control your emotions. We're going to provide you a personal business golf strategy, and we're going to integrate all this so that you're ready for summer golf. And I specifically say summer golf because pretty much all over the country, everybody's going to be starting golf. I would say for sure next, if not middle of this month, coming of April, May and June. June is high golf outing season, and I say from June to September, you're going to have a lot of golf outings that occur across the country. So you want to be ready for those if that's something that you want to get into. I'm going to offer 2 tracks, a 6-week track. You'll get the first 3 sessions in the 6-week track because I'm going to do these virtual sessions similar to what I'm doing now every other week. And then in between those weeks, we will do some interaction of accountability so that you're making sure that you're staying on top of the things you need to do to get to your goal. And then if you do the 12-week program, you'll do all 6 of these sessions again every other week. So we'll meet every other week virtually, but then we'll stay engaged in between weeks for check-ins. Also, you'll be able to get an accountability partner through this program because a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, tell me they don't have anybody that they can practice with or do this with. And even though not everybody's going to be in the same state, we'll make sure that if you're checking in and helping each other, technology, it works everywhere, right? You have FaceTime, you got all kinds of ways to engage with other people, but the idea is having somebody that keeps you accountable so that you're reaching your goal by the end of these 2 tracks. So that's the program in itself in a nutshell. And then of course, I'll be there to help guide you through anything you need, golf equipment guidance, helping to find a golf professional, anything that's going to get you ready, because that's the goal of this program. And so that's the idea. And by the end of the program, here's what you'll walk away with. You'll have confidence to say yes to the golf invitation, which is my number 1 goal for this program for you. A personal business golf strategy, especially if you know you have some clients that you want to engage with. We can talk through how to maneuver that process. You'll have golf etiquette and course knowledge, which again, I told you is key. You don't got to be good, but you do have to have the etiquette and know how to navigate the course. That's probably the most important thing. You'll get personal guidance from me. As I mentioned, I'll help you find instructors and any help with equipment. And then, of course, you'll get access not just to the free version of the app, but all of the premium features, which the free version includes level 1 training for the beginner from somebody starting out. And then the other levels will be available. So Breaking 100 is already available. Breaking 90 and 80 is coming soon. So you'll have access to that for 6 months. So even after the program ends, you'll still be able to use the app and the features on there. And also pretty much stay connected with me because I'm on the app too. And I have a chat feature there to help you. And then, of course, you'll have a community of women that you'll be working with because That's probably the most important thing is when you are getting into golf, as someone who started out in a youth program here in Cleveland, Ohio, um, I know that I probably would not have been as enthusiastic about practicing and playing if I didn't have my friends to do it with. So that's always important. This is what the program looks like. The 6-week program is $97. And this is because this is again, a starting program, brand new thing. So you'll be part of the founding cohort. So this price is the first time user price. After that, the price will not be this low. And this will help you get ready for late spring. And then the next one, or the 12-week program, will have you ready for the June golf outing kickoff. This program will start the week of April 13th. I haven't decided if it's going to be a Tuesday or Thursday because based on the registrants, we will either pick one of the days that most work for most people, and or if I have enough interest, I may offer Tuesday and a Thursday program. So if you're interested, here's the QR code to sign up or learn more about the Business of Golf Accelerator program. Also download the 10K Golf app if you haven't already done so for free. And you can go to 10kgolf.com, which is the website, to click on what we do, and that will take you to the link that is in the QR code. So that is my presentation, everyone. I'm going to go to the chat, but feel free to unmute yourself with any questions related to business golf. Sean is asking, is this for women only? And what if you need the second half of the program only? That's interesting. So yes, it is for women right now because we want to make this a focused program for women. The second half, I would be open to offering the second half as a 6-week series if you want to join. Then I think the thing that would make that a little odd is you won't have the foundation that's put into the first 6 weeks, and also you won't have the connection with the women in the program that have gone from beginning to end. So it would be a little awkward to start midway, but that's a good question. I won't say no, but I guess I would have to see how many people would be interested in doing that. But good question. Thank you, Sean. I know Sean comes to all my sessions, and I love you for that. And he's definitely all about the business golf. As I've told Sean, and I tell everybody who comes to my series, because I do free webinars every month, I've target women because women are the second fastest growing demographic in golf, but they're also, the retention rate is pretty low. And I think it's partly because of this reason. There's just not a lot of information to help help us navigate how to really stay in golf and get into golf. There's a lot of women's groups out there that are doing golf events and clinics here and there and playing golf and having a good time. But if you're just getting into the game and you don't have a clue about anything, there's really not a lot of stuff out there for those people. And I know that's for men too, but I think men tend to be a little bit more comfortable with the figuring out part of it all. And women want some more support. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you. Again, if anybody has questions or anything, unmute yourself. I'm going to hang on for a little while, but this is the end of the presentation, so feel free to hop off. I don't want to take up your whole lunch break, but would love to answer any questions you may have.